Sometimes when people are giving dating advice, you think of it through a lens of what you would do, and it's not always about what you would do, it's actually about the other person's behavior. So there's the piece of advice where women should not date men that make less than them. And one of the dating coaches on TikTok says like at least 80%. I always thought of that as, well, I would never, do anything to make a guy feel less than and all that stuff. And it's not actually about that because my last ex taught me that. I actually realized that first in childhood, but I didn't see it as connected until now, where I have a twin brother, and in fifth grade I got into gifted, and my mom wouldn't let them put me in gifted unless they put my brother in gifted. I remember in my 20s, I was always like, I would have never made fun of my brother because he wasn't in gifted. But that situation, it was like, it was for his sanity more than whatever I would have done. So dating my last ex, with him being like unemployed, underemployed, I can see how the advice is apropos because no matter how much you build a person up, or no matter how much you try to make them see what they should see in themselves, the viability in themselves, if they don't believe it, it doesn't matter what you do, what you think, because the lens by which they look through is the truth. So it doesn't matter if you always treat them well, even though they don't have any money or they have less money than you, because of the way society is, because of the way men are socialized to be as being like this provider, or just even if they're an individual, that they should be doing all these things for themselves. And then you take age into consideration, and as people get older, they have thoughts about where they should be. As long as they think whatever they think about themselves or about what you're doing, it does not matter what you do. I can kind of tie it into like when people say you should be the dumbest person in the room. I actually realized through a friend of like, and this is why you don't give people unsolicited advice, because they were going through all these things that they want to do, and like they want a career change, and I'm like, oh, what about this? Oh, what about that? And it's just like, that was the light bulb moment of when they say be the dumbest person in a room. It's so that people won't piss you off. And this is what, from my perspective, as the personality I am, I always think about not being pissed off. And so sometimes the way I navigate my life is so that I don't be pissed off. The advice of not getting with the guy who makes less than you, for me, myself personally, is so that you won't be pissed off by the amount of times you are their cheerleader, their best cheerleader, and it don't matter because they don't think of themselves as that. Like, I spent an entire year with my last ex convincing him that you don't have to do a damn thing to be worth living on this earth. You can just be. You don't have to do. And the thing about being an elder millennial is that our entire 20s was filled with a side hustle. Like, you have to make money. You got to work your full-time job and have like a little side thing, make more money. Everybody want to retire at 45 and all this stuff. And so it's really hard to comprehend that you don't have to do a damn thing to be a viable human being in this world. All you have to do is be and experience the world. I spent an entire year trying to convince him of that. I spent an entire year trying to convince him of the viability of networking, because he wanted to be in, the entertainment industry, but want it to be given to him. And he wants to start at the high level of the job that he wants, and doesn't see the perspective of the journey that you have to go to, and the humanity that you have to experience in talking to other people. They're not just going to give it to you because you got a master's degree. And so, like, I see the viability of the advice. Like, there's so much advice that we receive where we think of it like, well, I would never do that to a person. It don't matter what you would do to a person. It matter what they think and what they have internally. Part of me trying to get him to wrap his head around the networking, because he had some social anxiety. He thought he was an interesting person. I'm like, you're in the animation industry. You lived in Japan. You are interesting. You don't have to do anything else. Most of the black people watch anime and want to go to Japan or live in Japan. You've done it several times. That's all you have to do is talk about your life. That is already what makes you interesting. Like this man, when I asked, is he happy? He would say no. Like he started going to therapy, and I'm a very unique person. So like when he went to this woman and he was telling her about something he was going through with me in the relationship, and she's just like, "Oh yeah, you should just always listen to your girlfriend." I was like, "Absolutely not. You need to find another therapist." Because what? Like, I feel like typically people would think, oh yeah, like I would agree with that. Absolutely not. I don't want you to always agree with me. The therapist is supposed to be somebody who is in your corner, and not that you're always doing something correctly, but to just say, oh, always do what your girlfriend says? Absolutely not. Find somebody else. And that's exactly what he did. The other thing that I tried to do the entire relationship is not make what he did dependent on wanting to make me proud or wanting to it to be attached to me. And that's why when we broke up, he damn near crashed out, because now everything over the last year that you did that was successful is attached to me because I gave you the advice. I was trying to get you to do damn shit your own self so that it could be internally attached and you don't have to look back on something that you did and it's attached to me, and then this thing was temporary. That's why I feel like when they talk about being equally yoked, if you don't got somebody who is at least willing to try and is comfortable in themselves and can do things based on themselves, and you two come together to just do life together, but you're not relying on each other, you're not dependent on each other, you're interdependent, I can see how all that advice makes sense.